Good everyone, I'm IrishAnimeFan and welcome to the video. Netflix has recently dropped the first teaser for season 2 of the live-action One Piece series. Since I've covered this series before on this channel, and also because I'm creatively bankrupt right now, it's time we revisited the world of live-action One Piece as a way to drum up some interest. I'll express some thoughts and expectations I have for this upcoming season, and perhaps even beyond this point? Don't worry, we'll get to all of that later. But first, let's start with some of the good stuff. Judging by what we've seen in this trailer, so far it just looks like more of the same, which can only be a good thing. But it also looks like the production values have stepped up a gear since season 1. The sets look authentic and lived in, the shots are dynamic, the fight choreography is more involved, the VFX work seems better integrated, it just looks stunning overall. If the budget for season 1's episodes was around $80 million each, then I can't even imagine what the budget for season 2's episodes would have looked like. Regardless what changes Netflix makes to the story this time around, which there inevitably will be, we're at least guaranteed a visual treat for the eyes. Speaking of which, let's also talk about some of the new additions of the series, that being the actors who have joined the cast to play some of the most notable characters in this season. Lyra Abova certainly looks the part as Miss All Sunday. Callum Kerr is absolutely spot on as Smoker, especially with the 2 cigars in his mouth. I love that they've kept that in. And even the casting of Charithra Chandra as Miss Wednesday, I feel like it's a very deliberate choice because, well, despite it not being a one-to-one depiction of the character seen in the source material, it could still evoke some compelling parallels between the events of Alabasta and real-world history. I'll save some of that discussion for when the season finally does come out, but all I'll say for now is that while you may have not considered that perspective on the story, Oda certainly has. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the series will approach that when we come to it. Now, while I came away from this trailer feeling very positive about it, I still have a few reservations. To start, I want to address some of what has happened in the 2 years between season 2's official announcement and this first look at this new season. The main thing I want to address is the change in personnel, specifically when it comes to the showrunners. To remind you, Matt Owens and Steven Maeda served as the co-showrunners for season 1, and not only were they able to bring the world of One Piece into live action, but also make it a season of television that was massively successful, resonating with both fans and newcomers alike. However, it was revealed last year that Maeda had stepped down from the role, but still remains involved in the series as an executive producer. Then in March of this year, shortly after production for season 2 had wrapped, Owens had announced that he would be departing from the series, citing mental health struggles as the reason why. Losing both of them as showrunners was kind of a major blow because it was their genuine passion and drive to do right by a manga and anime that meant so much to so many people, especially Owens, who had dedicated 6 years of his life to make this dream of his a reality. And that was integral to the season's success in the first place. But the series now has 2 new showrunners at the helm. The first of whom is Joe Trax, who is perhaps best known for his involvement in the well-received TV series adaptation of the A Series of Unfortunate Events book series. The other is Ian Stokes, who, as well as being a producer on Teen Wolf, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, has actually written episodes for season 1 of live-action One Piece. So while I was initially worried about what the series would look like after Owens' departure, based on the credentials laid out by Trax and Stokes, I believe the series will be in relatively safe hands moving forward. That is, if they can overcome these next set of challenges. Because season 1 was as good as it was, see my video on that for more information, it now leaves live-action One Piece in a bit of a predicament. How will the series live up to the expectations and standards that it set for itself? The reason I say all of this is because once they wrap up East Blue with the Logtown arc, what follows is the Alabasta saga, which, if you are indeed familiar with it, I believe will push this adaptation to its absolute limits. It is imperative that they get this part of the show right, because not only is it regarded by many fans as one of One Piece's best sagas, but it also acted as the turning point for the series itself. It was its first attempt at long-form storytelling, with every arc in this saga contributing to this single serialized narrative, culminating in an epic and explosive climax. This is the saga that made One Piece go from being a great series to the cultural institution it is known today. Now, the conclusion of Alabasta will be reserved for the following season, which I think is all the better for it, but even with that being said, there is still a lot of ground to cover in Season 2. The gang gets swallowed up by the giant whale Laboon in Reverse Mountain. They are introduced, or in the case of a live-action series, reintroduced, to the Baroque's work organization in Whiskey Peak. They encountered the giant Dory and Broggy in Little Garden, and concluding the season will be the Drum Island arc, which was strangely enough absent from this trailer. I assume they're saving some of the best moments until later in their promotional cycle, which I can definitely understand, not spoiling this part of the story for the audience who may not be familiar with it. But it feels weird not to see it here, because it's a crucial arc in the grand scheme of One Piece, because it's where we first meet Tony Chopper. Though speaking on that, a couple months back, Netflix also released the first look at what our favorite reindeer boy would look like in live action. Aside from me being slightly disappointed that Chopper was not a Muppet, I still think he looks pretty good in the grand scheme of things, although I would have liked to see more of him. I think going down that Detective Pikachu route, where the creatures were half realistic, half stylized hybrids in that movie, was a smart move to make. And pretty funny too, because both of them share the same voice actor. Yeah, I would have liked to see more of him, but I think this is a perfectly satisfying appetizer for what's to come. It's for these reasons alone why I think Season 2 will be the season that will either make or break live action One Piece. I should also add that at the end of this teaser, it was confirmed that the series had been renewed for a third season, and that production would begin presumably later this year. From this announcement, it's obvious that Netflix wants to continue making live-action One Piece, as long as it's commercially viable for them. However, I can't help but think about the logistics of it all. You see, adapting One Piece into live action was always going to be tricky because of its sheer scale and the amount of material that is available to them. It's what you expect from a story that's been going on for almost 30 years at this point. It's why some of East Blue's plot points were shuffled around, and why the Garp subplot existed in Season 1. It was structured like that as a way for the producers to cover as much of the story as they feasibly can, while also setting up future events in the process. And while that may sound like an efficient way to adapt One Piece, especially with the amount of episodes that are ordered, I just wonder if there's any longevity in this approach, especially with the 2 to 3 year long gap between seasons playing a factor here. But with this immediate renewal and the fact that there isn't a writers and actors strike looming over them this time around, it means we could see Season 3 on our screens much sooner rather than later. Well, that's at least how I interpret it. For that, I'm cautious about this season, but I still remain optimistic about it nonetheless. But this is all just my perspective at the end of the day. What do you think about this teaser trailer? Are you excited for it as well? Let me know in the comments section below. As always, make sure to like the video, share it around because that really helps me out, and I do have more videos down the pipeline later this year, so be sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified of when those videos come out. I've been IrishAnimeFan, and until next time, Slán.